Okay, everybody, thank you for joining today's webinar. As I mentioned just about a minute ago, today's webinar is going to be all about merge templates. And we're going to go, as this is more of a training webinar, we're going to go a little bit more in depth than just copying and pasting tags that we give you from ProjectTeam into something like a Word document. We're actually going to talk a little bit about something called Smarty tags, which is almost like a low-code way to get a little bit more out of the tags that we provide you. I will show you a place in our help that's going to give you more detail. And so, after this call, if you want to actually try, if you are a user of ProjectTeam, you want to try some of these things out, you certainly can go ahead and do that. But hopefully this webinar will give a lot of good information. Before I get started, as usual, just talk about following us on social media pages. That's where we kind of do a first look at different news and events that are going on and new release information. I can talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next release after most of this webinar. And just an FYI, this webinar is being recorded. So if anybody was planning on making it, or somebody that was planning on making it that doesn't make it, we do have a recording, so I can send that over after. Just to be clear, this is more of a training webinar. So it looks like from the attendees that we have on here, it's probably like 60-40 existing users, 40% non-users right now, just kind of checking things out, which is totally fine. I want to just be clear that this is not a full demo of the software, just kind of going into a deep dive of one function, which is the merge template area. So what is a merge template? We have reports in ProjectTeam, and about a month ago, I did a deep dive into reports and going through the report editor within the system. In addition to the reporting, there's also a way to create something or different kinds of outputs, and these are used more on a single document or record by record basis. Instead of getting like a tabular report, I just want to print out, in this case, maybe my inspection, or my request for information, or my submittal transmittal, or whatever it is. And in those cases, if I just want to print a single record, we typically recommend you use something called a merge template. So if I'm looking at my screen right now, I've got a sample merge template in front of me, and in this case, it's a field inspection. Okay. In here, I have a bunch of information. One thing I also want to mention real quick is you can create merge templates using a number of different inputs, I guess. You can create using Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or PDF. Each one is going to be a little bit different. I personally feel that Microsoft Word, because of the way that it's laid out, gives you the most flexibility. But one of the other nice things about merge templates is if you're working, let's say, with a client, or if there's some output that you need, maybe I'm working for some agency or something like that, and they need a particular output, instead of recreating something or giving them an output that looks nothing like what they asked for, you can just take tags, merge tags from ProjectTeam, put them into that output, and then get exactly what you need. Okay, so it's a good way to, like AIA type of documents and things like that, where I just need to put in fields into particular places on a document. In this case, what I'm going over in the demo is just something I've made up here. It's just my field inspection. I can see the field inspection showing up on the screen in front of you, and I have lots of different information. So if I kind of go through here, this is the things that I want to talk about, including these through these Smarty tags in your template. The first is your company logo. You can obviously upload your company logo in ProjectTeam. It's there for brand awareness. It's your brand. Everywhere your users go, they see your brand. And then on your outputs, you also want to include your brand. It's easy to put in your logo there. Next is manipulating dates. So not only can you say that the standard date, so in the full date field there, it says 3/1/2019, but you can also get a lot of other options within that date. What day of the week was it? What month is that? What's the full year? Things like that you can put in anywhere on your document. So I'll show you that example. Breaking single fields out into multiple fields. So this was a question asked recently, where there's a template that somebody is using, and maybe on the form, I just have a drop down or a pick list that says pass, fail, or other. And that's fine. I just want my users to choose that. But on the output, I've kind of broken that out. Maybe it makes more visual sense in this way, where I have a column for pass, a column for fail, and a column for other. So there's never going to be a checkbox in the same row on two different columns, but I do kind of easily see things that are pass versus fail instead of just seeing a piece of text in there. And I'll show you how to kind of break that single field into multiple fields. Using symbols, we talked about this in the last webinar where we did a report using webdings and wingdings, which are symbol fonts that you can get, and they're just included in Microsoft Word and things like that. So that's easy to do. So in this case, I'm using a checkbox or a check mark. Putting numbers into currency. So instead of just showing 340, we want to show the dollar sign and then the cents afterwards. How to do some calculations. So I have two columns here, one for units, one for cost per unit. And then I also want to total that. So now I have my unit total there. So I want to do a simple math. After everything, I also want to do a sum within the entire collection. So now I have all this information. I want to sum it up at the bottom, show you how to do that. You're not limited to just one sum at the bottom of your collection. You could have a sum at the bottom of every column if you wanted to. So I'll kind of show how to do that for one, but then you can take that further if needed on your examples. And then we have a signature. One of our last releases, we showed how to import a signature for your user and then include that in something like a merge. So I'll quickly go over that again just to show. I talked about the webdings and wingdings. We're going to use this when I get into my example. There is a link at the bottom of this page here, this cheat sheet here. If you just Google webdings cheat sheet, you'll get to you'll probably find a page that looks similar. And what we're going to do is just use letters that correspond with symbols in our merge template to get the outputs that we need. Okay, so that's enough kind of PowerPoint. I want to get into the system here and show you all around. So I'm going to go into my area. So here I'm at the My page, after the first page that I get to after logging into ProjectTeam. The first thing while I'm here, just to touch on, in the upper right-hand corner, I've got this edit profile and some other options here. If I click on edit profile, I see my information and I see a place to upload an e-signature. That's where you could, offline sign a piece of paper, take a picture of it and put it in there. Or there's plenty of online websites that'll give you a digital signature, and you can just import that into ProjectTeam, and then you can use that in places like our merge template, which we will in a second. I'm going to kind of click quickly through my project here just to get to the area that I need, because this is more of a training. So I'm going to go into the webinar project. The form that we were just looking at is the inspection form, okay, which is actually a custom form that I created on this project. I can see I have a bunch of inspections showing up in my log here. I just want to click on this first field, inspection number 1, and I'm taken to the form. On the top of the page, I see that I'm the only one that has access, and that's fine for this example. And if I scroll down here, I see a bunch of fields showing up. These are the things that I want to include in my merge template. So I've got a subject, permit number, date of inspection, and more. I've got some complex fields here, so not just a simple label and a value, but I have something called collections. So I've got this items for review collection. I've got this inspection area collection. And if you remember, from the example that I was saying where I had in my screenshot of a merge template, I have columns that are broken up for pass, fail, and other. You can see in here, it's just a simple drop down, pass versus fail. So I'm choosing, or my user's choosing one of those, and then my output is going to break that out. And then finally, I have this cost impact where I have number of units and cost per unit. I don't have any totals on here, and that's okay. We can still include totals on our merge. So the actual the merge document is going to be doing the math for me instead of having to do that on the form. Okay, so all of this is in here just to show if I went in to edit this, I could go in and edit any of these values here. Like I said, if I wanted to edit something like here, I've got this single drop down that's showing me pass, fail, or other, which I'll break out. But I could go in and edit any of these fields as needed. I'll just cancel that for now. So in addition to my inspection form, what I want to do, and the point of this presentation, is to create a merge template. So a merge template is a different form that I can create in the system, and then I can literally merge the information from this record, this inspection record, into that template. You're going to find merge templates under the print option. So by default, you have two print options. There's a quick print, which is just going to print the page that you're looking at in a view that is a little bit more friendly to print, where I can see all my fields and everything, but I don't necessarily have my logo. It doesn't give me boilerplate information. It's not the format that I want. It's just the default format that comes from the site. The second option is to merge to a template. So if I click on that, it's going to list the different templates that you have for your inspection. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into the forms area, and I typically don't have my merge template as one of my favorites, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to find merge. Okay. And then I'm just going to right click on this, which this is kind of a tips and tricks, I guess. You can open up different pages or tabs when you're working in ProjectTeam on something like a merge template where I'm editing the template and then I want to go back and check it on my actual record. I like to open up two different tabs so I don't have to kind of navigate back and forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new tab, my merge template. Okay. That is loading up here. I can do this, and I see I have two templates right now. One that I created just a second ago as I was trying, so I'm actually going to delete this. So I can click into that, and I'm just going to delete. Yeah, get rid of that. So now I see my log of merge templates, and I do not see one here for an inspection. So I want to create a brand new one. In these training webinars, I do like to create from scratch, to go through kind of every step. I'll go kind of quickly, but if you have any questions or anything, and you want me to slow down, just say it in the webinar GoToMeeting area. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a brand new template. Like I said, you can create templates using Microsoft Excel, Word, PowerPoint, or PDF. I'm going to focus today on Microsoft Word. The experience is pretty much the same in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. It's a little bit different in PDF, but I'll go over that near the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want to create a new template. So I'm just going to say new. It's going to ask me what do I want to call this template, and for what record type or form type do I want to associate this template. So here I'm going to say this is my webinar inspection template. And then what source form type, I'm going to scroll down and find inspections and then say next. The second kind of page or window in this wizard is showing me a list of the different tags that I have here. So I can just copy and paste any of these into my let's say my Word document to get the information to merge when I want it to. I don't have a Word document yet, so I am going to create something kind of quickly from scratch. I think it gives you an idea of how fast you can create this information. If you already have some output that you are using and you're just copying and pasting values, use that. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Word. So I'm just going to type in Word here, find Word on my computer, and create a blank document. So the thing that I want to kind of create in my head right now is going to look a certain way. So it's going to match one of those PowerPoint images that I said before. So I want to put my company logo somewhere up here, and that's fine. I want to name this document my field inspection. Maybe I want to make this bold and put it in the center. So Control E is to center text in Word. And then I want to do some other things. So I want to add in here, I want to add a box, and I want to put in my inspector name. Maybe we'll make this capital N. I'm going to leave that blank for now. Actually, let's do this as we go through. So in my inspector name here, we've got these tags from ProjectTeam, and all I need to do is copy. Click the copy button, and then Control B is to paste. I'm going to make this bold. I can make this cell here, I'm going to make it like a light yellow because I want to call it out, and that's fine. So that looks pretty good for me. Okay. Underneath of that, I want to create kind of an area that has a bunch of fields. Sometimes when I'm creating something from scratch, I like to create a little table here. I'm going to include different rows and columns. I have 5 fields that I want to include in this, so I'm just going to go down to 5 here by 2, and then I want to kind of copy and paste what I need over there. So this is going to be called my inspection name, and I'm going to take that from my subject. So I'm just going to copy and paste that in there, and then tab to get to my next row. Under here, I'm going to say my full date, okay, and that's going to be my date of inspection. Put that right there. Underneath of that, like I said, I want to include the day of the week. So I'm going to say day of the week. I don't have something that says day of the week right now as my tag, but I know that it's going to be related to the date of inspection, so I'm just going to copy that and paste that here. I know that these are the same right now, and that's okay. I'll change that later. After that, I want to include my permit number. And I'll just find permit number in here, copy and paste. You can kind of see how easy it is to just copy and paste these values to create a simple merge template. And then I'm going to say overall score, is it pass or fail? Okay, and then I'll just take this, which I think is a checkbox maybe. Okay, so I'll put that in there. That looks pretty good. These are all the fields that I need before we get into some of the more complicated fields. Again, we can manipulate this or kind of edit the look of this by making these bold. It's a little bit too much space because these are just going to be labels. So I can also make this gray, and that's looking pretty good. So I've got my yellow section, and then I've got this section here. Underneath of that, I want to just include my field notes, and that's going to come from this notes area. So just to show, I don't need to put everything in table. So far I have put a table here, which is just 1 by 1, and then a table here. I'm just going to copy and paste, kind of have this thing floating out here. Again, I'll make this bold to kind of keep consistency here. So this is all looking pretty good. I'm going to just add a couple dashes and then enter, and it's going to give me a horizontal line on my document just to split up my sections. Okay, right now, again, I'm just creating from scratch a brand new merge template using Microsoft Word. Next, I want to get into some more complicated fields. Okay, it's not just a label and a value. It's going to be a collection, so a table-like view on my form. So my table, I'm going to skip items for review because I didn't have that in my example. It's going to be this inspection area. So here I'm going to add a label. So I'm just going to say inspection area. It doesn't really matter what you put on here. You don't need to say the same label. Just makes sense to me. And then I'm going to actually put in a table on my form. So if I look at my table in ProjectTeam right now in the merge tags area, I see a bunch of different fields. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could add 5 columns here. The only thing is I also need to add columns because if you remember, I want to break this up, not just show pass or fail. I want to actually break that up into multiple columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add 7. Okay, so if I go in here, I'm going to go into my table. I'm going to go 7 by 2, and then I'm just going to kind of manually type in my options. So I've got this for my column header. So I've got a number, which matches this, right? And add this tag to your first column. This is a little bit cramped here because I have this kind of 50-50, but if you were to open this up, you would see more the values here. It doesn't really matter what it shows because you're just copying those values using the button. So I'm going to add this tag to my first column. So I'm going to say copy this, put that right there. And then I'm going to take this dollar or pound sign, number sign, and I'm going to put that right here. Okay, so it's a little bit different in your collection, still easy, just copy and paste. Now I want to say this is my area name, maybe description, and then I'm going to say pass, fail, other, and then did I review? Okay, so I've got these different headers. Now I just need to copy and paste. So I'm going to say area name, copy, paste. I only needed to include this in my first column. Okay, as it says in the directions here, add this tag to your first column. I don't need to add that every time. So I've got area name. I'll say area description in there. pass, fail, I could put that in all these. So I'm just going to say, boom, put that in there, put that in there. I've got the same field showing up, which is fine in all three of these columns. I'll change that later. And then I've got this reviewed option. I'm just going to copy and paste it in there. And then just not forget, add this tag to the last column of your last row. I'll take this and put it there to kind of end the table. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. Just to keep things consistent, I'll kind of highlight, make this bold, and make this a gray border. I can kind of change the size of these if I want to. I'm not going to need much space for pass, fail, other. But for now, that looks pretty good and clean. The final field that I want to put in here is this last collection called cost impacts. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to just kind of keep it simple for now, real quick. So I'm going to say that I need to create one more. So I'm going to say cost impact. I'll make this bold. Okay. In here, let's count my different columns. I've got a number column, 1, item description, 2, units, 3, and cost per unit, 4. I also want to include a 5th column because I want to say units times my cost per unit, which is going to be my total, unit total. So I'm going to add a 5th. So here I'm going to say I want to insert a table that has 5 columns, 2 rows, and then I can go from here. So I'm just going to say number again. This is my description. Notice that I'm not matching the name, item description, description. I don't need to match, it's just a label. Let's say units here, cost per, let's say per unit, and then let's say unit total, okay? And this unit total is going to be units times cost per. In here, we'll just kind of copy our tag. So copy this, put that in there. Copy this, put that in there. The item description, put it in the description area. Units, put that in there. Cost per unit, we're going to put that right there. Okay, so now I've got that information. I don't actually have anything to put into this unit total right now, and I can expand that. So I'll leave that blank. I am going to highlight this, make that gray, highlight all of these, and it looks like they're bold right now. I'm going to unbold them. Okay. So this is all looking really good. I mean, my field inspection right now is looking like I want it to. The last thing that I want to do is include my signature, kind of like a footer in an email, let's say. So I'm going to say, here's my sign off. And I need to change this drop down up here. It says document fields right now. I could also pull my user fields or project fields into my output. For this example, I'm going to use my user fields. I'm going to take my signature, which already gives you this tag that looks a little bit different, ProjectTeam _ user signature, insert image 040. That 040 is the size of your signature. I think we put it in there as the default because that's a pretty good size. You don't need to do anything but that. It's automatically going to recognize your signature and put it in there. Underneath of that, I'm just going to put in some name information. So I'm going to say my first name, space, my last name. I'll say bar. And then I'll say I'll put in maybe my job title, and then underneath of all of that, I'm just going to put in my company name. So I'll find company name, copy, and put that in there. Okay, this is looking like it's spaced out a little bit right now. You can always change that to remove spaces, and that looks okay. I maybe make my name bold just to kind of put that out there. Okay, so now I've got this whole merge template created. It looks pretty good. Oh, it looks like I forgot company logo. In this user field, we do have company logo, so I can take that, put it in there. Oops, Control V. Make this unbold. It doesn't matter if it's bold or not, but just for purposes of showing that, put this in the middle. Okay, so now I've got my logo. I've got a title for this page. I've got a bunch of different fields showing up in tables, some not in tables. Then I've got a whole collection of information. I'm always including that table row at the end. It looks like I forgot to put a table row here. So just to be sure, I'll go to document fields. Underneath my cost impact, I'm going to say table row, and I'm going to put that in here. Okay, so this all looks really good to me. All I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. Okay, so let me make this big again, take up my full screen. I'm going to say File, Save As, my computer, my desktop, and I'm just going to say my inspection template for webinar. Okay, so now I've got that in there. Again, if there's any questions on anything that I went through so far, just feel free to ask, and we can kind of go over that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to ProjectTeam. I've got my small screen here. I'm going to open this up. I'm just on step 2 of my merge right now. I'm going to go step 3, so I'll say next, and I'll find that new inspection form that I just created. So I'll say upload, search on my desktop, that inspection template for webinar, and I'll say open, and I'll just say finish. Now I've got a brand new merge template in my project based off of the fields that I have on my inspection form. So if you remember, I have this other tab open. This first tab here is my inspection form. I've got this thing here. If I open up my print, merge to template now, I see I have one item in here, that's webinar inspection template that we just created. I can say I want to choose that one. It's going to give me the option to go next if I have attachments on my inspection. So the point here is if you have attachments on your form, you can include those on your merge outputs. For now, I'm going to skip that. So I'll just say merge, and let's see what happened here. And if you remember, I've just copied and pasted values over. I have not used any Smarty tags so far, so information is going to look pretty good, but there's going to be some changes that are needed. If I look in here, I've got my inspection name, I've got my full date, which is matching the information you can see kind of faded in the background here, 7/2. The day of the week shows me 7/2. I actually like that to show as Tuesday because that's the day of the week here. Permit number 01, no for overall score, which is because it's not checked in the past. I do have this inspection area. It's showing me data, but it's not what I want. I actually want to show just a check mark if it was passed or failed. So it looks like I want to show a check mark here, and I want to show a check mark here, no check marks in this column, and then this reviewed area is fine. So this is where we're going to get into that WebDings icons. And then my cost impact looks okay. I've got my description. I've got 2 units. The 340 isn't, it's showing me a number, but it's not showing me the correct format. So I want it to actually show the $sign in there. And then, like I said, I want to actually include some math to show the unit total, which we'll do last because it's probably the most complicated piece of this. Okay. So this is easy to make. It got created here, but now we're just going to add on to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Word document, and now there's some changes that need to be made. The first is going to be this day of the week area. So maybe I'll just make this red to show you the things that I'm going to change. The day of the week shows me ProjectTeam 18063. That was that field tag that we used, but I need to show the day of the week. So I'm not really sure how to do that. I'll go back to ProjectTeam here. In the Help Center, in the ProjectTeam Help Center, we have updated to show merge information using Smarty tags. So I'm just going to search for merge and say enter. Here it's going to show you all these different pages showing information that has been written about these different topics, and I'm going to use Smarty tags for merge templates. When I open this up, it's going to show me all of these different options. The first is working with dates. If you can see here, what I want is the full weekday name. Okay, so this %, capital A, is going to give me my full weekday name. That's what I'm going to need to use, but I'm not sure how to use that or where to use that. Underneath of this section, it is showing you kind of how to put that format in there. So it looks like I've got some tag, which I already have in my document. It's a different number because I copied and pasted it, but I do have this type symbol and then date format A. All I'm going to do is copy that. So I'm going to say right to the pipe, I'm going to say copy, go over to my Word document, place it inside that curly braces, and then I'm going to paste that in there. So now I've got ProjectTeam number, which is my field ID, pipe, date format, capital A. Capital A is going to give me my weekday. If I wanted to, and I won't do this every single time, but just to show you, I've made this change here. I'm just going to save this. If I go back to ProjectTeam, so my second area, I'm going to upload a brand new version of my merge template. So I'm on the merge template form right now, uploading a new version of this. Go back to desktop. I've got this inspection template for webinar. Upload that. Looks like it went through. I'll go to my field inspection area, and I should merge to template again. I'm going to choose that same one, but now we've made that single edit and merge. It should show me now in red text the area that I changed. It's going to show me, instead of the full date, it's going to show me the day of the week. Okay, good. So now I've got day of the week as Tuesday. It's not showing up as 7/2. So using these Smarty tags, and mostly a lot of that is in the help area. If anybody that's a current user needs help with other instructions that aren't already in the help center, let us know and we can add some in there. But that looks pretty good. Now I want to kind of go through my form and do some other things. The next area for me that I'm going to need to change is this inspection area. If you remember, and I'm kind of jumping around here, if I go back to my document here, you can see in the screenshot that we had in the first place, it should show pass and show me a check mark in any of the places that's passed. Fail, check mark in any of those places, etc. So if I go back to my Word document right now, I don't actually need just this field ID in there. There's some other stuff that I'm going to need to do to it. So in the Smarty tags area in this help center, I can go down and I've got these if statements. Okay, and what I'm going to want to say is, if in that first column, if the option equals pass, show a check mark, else I don't want to show anything. If the option shows fail, show a check mark, else I don't want anything. And then if it shows other, show a check mark, else I don't want anything. Okay, so we're going to need to use an if-else statement. So in here, I'm going to just copy and paste this whole thing, let's say. Let's get the whole thing. So I'm going to say if the whole thing. Copy that. And then I'll just say enter, paste in there. I don't need that formatting, so I'm going to unformat that. So what I have here, it looks a little bit cramped, and that's fine. We can kind of expand that maybe. Okay, I've got if, and then I've got my field number. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this project team 20096. I'm going to cut that out of there, and then I'll put that right there. Okay, so Control V. So I've got if my field equals what? What I want to equal is pass. Then I want to show something, so I'm going to make a space. And what do I want to show? I want to show a check mark. I don't have a check mark icon that I know about right now, or maybe there's some other symbol that I want. Maybe a check mark is something that I could find out of Microsoft Word, but I want to use some other symbol. I'm not sure what it is. So I'm going to go into the WebDings area here, and using this cheat sheet, I want to find the symbol that I need. The symbol that I need is going to be this check mark, which, fortunate for me, is just the first thing. But if I wanted to include a circle or a square or a car or a whatever, a smiley face, whatever it is, I could find those symbols in this either WebDings or Wingdings is the other one. So I'm going to find this check mark as just an A right now. So it's a lowercase a equals a check mark in WebDings. WebDings, not Wingdings, WebDings. So if I go in here, I'm just going to type in A. Okay, and this is to highlight this if it's hard to see here. I'm just going to type in A. Okay, it shows me as an A, but I need to change that font to the WebDings. So I'm going to go to font here. I'm going to scroll all the way down on my screen. I do see WebDings, and if I hover over that, you can see that A is turning into a check mark, showing kind of a sample there, a preview. And that's what I want to choose. So I'm going to say WebDings. Okay, so it says if this field ID equals passed, show a check mark, else show, I'm just going to say space, because I don't want anything. And then it's going to end the if. Okay, so I'm going to actually delete this area now. That was good. So I'm going to copy and paste this into these other areas here. And all I need to do is change what I'm showing. So this is a little bit cramped. So now it says if this field equals what? This time it's going to be fail. And then if this field equals other. Okay, so that all is pretty good. I can make these smaller because I don't need that much space because all I'm showing is a check mark. But it shows that same here. So if the same field every time is these different options, show a check, otherwise just show a space. Let's go ahead and save that. And then go back to my project team, upload a new version in here, go to the inspection for webinar, that thing uploads. It looks like I'm missing something, okay? In here, I can see, so we're showing some errors after that goes in there. Let's go in here and say this. Let's make this unread. I don't know if the red is doing anything, okay? If $project team users equals that, which is good, I think. Let's try that again. Go there and say it in there. Giving me an error, okay, if it's pass. Oh, it looks like I have a space. So it looks like this area here, so I have the $sign and then I have this space between the $sign and the P. I need to delete that, so it needs to not be a space in there. Okay, so just the formatting there is important. Make sure you be careful on that information. I'm going to make that red again because that seemed to have no impact. But it looks like I had the $sign and then I included a space and then project team, but it was not liking that. So I'm going to just save that now. Actually, make this red and save that. So good thing we caught that and we tried it. That's why when I'm creating reports or merge templates, I like to make a change and then try it. Make a change and then try it. It just kind of is an iterative process that helps identify problems quickly instead of doing everything and then at the end I identify, oops, there's a change somewhere in my document. So now if I upload a new version here, this one should work or I'll be a little bit more confused. Okay, so good, that works in there. Now if I go to my inspection and I say print merge to template, say next and merge. Wait a couple seconds here for the data to come to my form into that template that I used. And if I scroll down here now, I've got missing information, but those should show up, okay? So I'm missing information in there. Looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip that for now. We'll get back to that. Okay, so now I've got my cost impact area. So now what I want to do is I want to add a simple one is to change the format of this currency here. It was showing up as just a number, but I want to change that to currency. If I look at the help, I'll be able to find that there's something called a currency format, and then I can use the $sign instead of going back and forth. Actually, let's do it. So just to show, if I go in here, if there's a currency format somewhere in here, I can just find the pipe symbol. Okay, so project team ID, currency format, and then the $sign. I'm going to say copy that, go into here, and just add that in there, and I'll make that the same format. So now I've got currency format, $sign for this cost per. I'll make this red. Okay. Next, what I want to do is I want to do some simple math that takes this unit times the cost per and put it in the unit total. So what I'm going to need to do is, if I look at the help area, and there should be a simple math area in here, I've got this multiply, and that's what I want to do. It says I want to take some field and then a little star symbol, another field when I want to multiply. So that's okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this field, units, I'm going to put it above this table row area. Say units, go inside the bracket, so I'm right in here, say the pound sign, and then I want to take this information right here and put it in there. Okay. Now I've got oh, it's kind of small. So you can see this field times this field is what I want. Okay, so I'll just save that. Let's go back to the system here, upload a new version, do my inspection template for webinar. That gets uploaded in there. Go to my field inspection, merge that to a template, say merge, and now I should have, in the first column, I should have a format that shows me the currency. In the last column, at least I should have something that is summing up that information. And I forgot to make it red, but you can see the math is working out. 2 times 340 is 680. It's not showing me my currency format because I did not put a currency format on there. And then I've got 6 times 15 equals 90. So that all looks pretty good. I'll go back to my Word. So we've got about 20 minutes left here. Again, if there's any questions as we're going through, just ask. Otherwise, I'm going to keep powering through, and we'll go from there. Okay. So what I need to do now is, if I try to put a currency format on my math, it's not going to know what to do. Okay. So we've got a little bit of an issue here. So if I just said, just like I did here, I've got this pipe symbol, currency, $. If I just copied and pasted that like that, it doesn't know what to do because it's saying, well, I'm just going to put on the currency to this field. I'm not doing this field, and then the output is going to have, you know, what currency or what format. It's going to be confused, and it's going to give you no format. So I'm going to delete this. What we need to do is we actually need to assign a variable to this math equation. Okay, so it's not hard to do that. There's some format that we need to do. All of this is in the Smarty tags area here. So underneath that, we have assigning variables. What we need to say is assign var equals some name. Field 3 is just a random name, and that's fine. And we're going to give it the value of this field, some multiplier, plus sign, whatever it is, this field, okay? And then we'll be able to use field 3. And once we have field 3, that's where we can put in our currency format. So I'm not going to call it field 3. I'm actually going to call it unit total, because it makes a little bit more sense to me. So within these brackets, and let's make this a little bit wider because we're going to start to need more room. Okay. So I've got this simple equation. I'm going to say here, let's say assign. We're going to say var, so that's our variable, and we're going to say equals, and we're going to call it something. And we have here, it's called unit total, so let's call it that. So UINIT total. Okay. So we have assign a variable equals unit total, and then we need to give it a value, and our value is going to be our equation. So I'm going to say value equals our equation. So now I have a new variable called unit total that I can use. Underneath of this area, I can now use that unit total field that I have. So I'm going to say bracket $ unit total. Okay, it's going to give me this sum, and then I'm going to apply that currency format to it. So now I can just take this pipe currency format, paste that in there, close that bracket, and that's looking pretty. That's going to look good. So I can make this red, let's say, and say save that. Go back to the system just to show an iterative process here. Inspection template for webinar, that goes in there. And now my field inspection, you can see it was 680 and 90 here. It wasn't showing that currency format. Now we've assigned a variable and then given the currency format to that variable, which is needed when you're working with multiple numbers. So if I merge this information, I should eventually get, now I've got this currency format in there, and I added some space in there to make it clearer, so that's why things are looking a little bit more spaced out, but you see that dollar symbol is in there. The last thing that I want to do on here is now I need to sum it at the bottom. So now I've summed horizontally, I need to now sum vertically. And then after that, if you want to stick around for a couple minutes, I'll fix this pass-fail issue. Okay, so I want to do something here. Let me go into the Word document. Now this is going to be a little bit more involved. So what I need to do is I need to assign a variable somewhere on my document, and then I'm going to use that and then iterate over this unit total column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go up to this cost impact area, and this is where I'm going to create a new variable outside of my collection. So I'm going to say assign a new variable, okay, assign var, and this is going to be called my unit total sum, because I want to sum all of my unit totals in this collection. So I'm going to say unit total sum, and then I'm going to initialize and just give it a value of 0. Okay. All of this, what I'm about to go through, if you're kind of looking in the help area, if I go back to merge, there's its own page for adding sums to collections, which will take you through step by step on how to do this. Okay. But just to show. So now I've got this new variable in here. I don't need it to be bold. It doesn't matter if it is bold. It's not going to show up. It's just the assignment of this information. What I need to do over here is I want to add a new row, because that's where I'm going to actually put in the value. I'm going to take this table row stuff and put it down here. Okay. So now this is where I'm actually going to want to show that unit total sum. What I need to do here, in addition to showing this unit total, I need something to be able to count. I need a counter on this unit total that I'm going to use in this bottom row. So I'm going to say enter here. I am going to add a new curly brace. Maybe we'll make this highlighted so we can kind of show as we're going through here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assign. Hey, that's not. Can you not type onto the? Oh well. So you can see where it starts. Assign. We're going to say a new variable. Okay. Actually, our same variable that we created outside of our collection. So we're going to say that is going to be this unit total sum. So I can just copy and paste this. Var equals unit total sum. We'll make it red so it stands out. And then we're going to give it a value. But this time, instead of giving it a simple value, we're going to say it's itself plus the value of this unit total. Okay, so we're going to say value equals $, because we always need that with our variables. So unit total sum, put that right there. I'll just say paste. Make sure there's no space in there because that messed us up before. Plus the other variable that we had before is this unit total. So it's going to say the unit total sum is equal to the row that has the unit total above it. Okay, and that's going to allow it to kind of add on to itself by going through every row. Okay, we'll close this braces bracket. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we need to add at the bottom here. Let's just get this thing in here. So I'm just going to give that's our value. We're going to say braces unit total sum. We want to give it the same currency format we said before. So currency format, and then we're going to say the $. Let's make that all red. Okay, and that looks pretty good. We've got our table row at the bottom. We don't need that extra space. So I'll kind of delete to show that there. And that looks all good. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Let's go back to the system here. Merge templates, upload a brand new version. This time it's going to be with that last option at the end. Go back to my field inspection, print this one last time. Say merge. And then at the end of this, we should have all of that information showing up, plus the sum that is giving our $ format, which we have this showing up twice, so that's an issue we need to take care of. But you can see that this is showing, oh, it's because my table row. So I put the table row at the bottom. I should put the table row one above that. So what's happening is I'm giving an information, and then I'm saying stop the table. So it gives me my 680. And I'm giving more information and then stop the table. So my add is fine. I've just added the table row. Since I moved it is no good. So I'm going to take this table row, cut this, and actually put it back right here. Okay. Now once I do that, if I save this and go back, upload new version, inspection template for webinar, upload that thing, and then go back to my form. And I know I clicked pretty fast there. Merge to a template, this webinar inspection that we were looking at before, merge this, the sum should be at the right place. Okay, so now I've got 680 plus 90 equals 770 with my signature at the bottom. The only thing that I messed up on here is this pass, fail, or other. I can go through this and show, which I will do, but I want to kind of give an opportunity. If anybody has any more questions or any questions, please ask now and I'll go over that. Otherwise, I'm just going to finish that up. That'll be the last thing that I go over. Actually, before I kind of end the webinar, there's some items that are very exciting that are coming up in our next release. So our next release, which is probably going to be mid-July, so it's about a week. I mean, the end of this week is the 4th of July, and then after that, we have our drawing markup tool, or our PDF markup tool. That's going to allow you to create shapes and clouds and text and links and things like that on your PDFs to be able to, create annotations. Each annotation is linked to a user. You can comment on the user annotations. There are security around that. We're very excited about getting that feature out into the system. There's also a need for assigning quick access. Right now in custom fields, you assign access one by one, but there's going to be a new way to assign quick access throughout the system. And then another big item that we're very excited about is project templates. You'll be able to create a project, denote that thing is a template, and then going forward, you'll just be able to use that same template on your other projects. Everything is linked. You can create cross-project reports and things like that from that. So that's coming up very soon, probably mid-July timeframe. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of the webinar. If anybody wants to stick around, I will go over, I'll just fix this pass-fail issue. But other than that, thank you so much for joining, and I really appreciate everybody's time. But if you want to stick around, I'm going to do this. It'll take me 5 minutes or so if you just want to watch. And there is one question. One of the questions I'm going to reach out individually after this webinar and answer that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find what's going on with this inspection area. If I open this up, I'm actually going to delete these because I think something's going on here. I'll just type in what I need here. So the thing that I need is I'm going to say my if statement, and then I'm going to get my field. I wasn't sure what that field was, so I'm going to go back to my webinar or my merge template, get tags, find this past information in here. So this field 20096, and I'll get rid of that. Okay, so now I've got my field. So if that field, I'm going to get rid of that closing bracket so far. If that field, I'm going to say equals, so a double equal sign, and I'm going to use the word pass. Okay, I think maybe last time I was using double quotes. I'm going to use single quotes here because I think that might have been part of the issue. I'm going to say A, if you remember, and I can type in A, go to web things to get my check mark. Then I'm going to say, oops, that's not right. I'm going to go back to Calibri, I think was the font I was using before. I'm going to say else. Close the bracket. I'm just going to add a space because I don't want anything to show if it's an else. Then I'm going to say if. Right there. Okay, I think that should be pretty good. Instead of adding that to, actually, why not? Let's just do it. And I'll say fail. Yeah, and other. Save that. Now, let's try it. So now that I've changed that double quote to a single quote, upload new version, inspection template. Ooh, that goes in there, so that's a good sign. And now if I print this thing to my template, fingers crossed. Yeah, so I've got that going in now. So now it's showing me a checkbox everywhere that it's passed, a checkbox everywhere that it's failed, which is just going to be one-to-one relationship per row, giving me that information. Okay, so again, thank you everybody. There are some questions on here that I'll address after this call. If there's anything pertaining to the merging that you have questions for, please ask them now. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining. We're looking forward to our next webinar, which will probably be mid to late July, because that's after our release, and we can talk more about what's going on with those features then. Okay, so thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Have a great 4th of July if we don't talk to you.